At this time, I would like to introduce our presenters, Prabha Manavasagar, our president, and Sam Frederick, our product manager.
Christine, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Sam, you should be able to start presenting your screen while you're getting that up. All of you, thank you for joining this morning. I know it's taking an hour out of your day is always challenging, but I appreciate you joining. And today we're going to actually, Sam, I think you need to share your other screen. You're sharing your second screen. So let's share the primary screen, please. So while Sam's getting that figured out, here we go. That's the right one, and put that in full screen mode, and we're ready to go. We've got a full agenda today, and I would like to start by, yeah, down below. There you go, Sam. Excellent. All right, so let's jump into the agenda. We've got a good agenda today. The first thing, I want to bring everybody up to speed on EVV. EVV is the state's doing a variety of things. Lots of things are underway. Want to get you up to speed. The big reason for you joining today is talk about new features. We've got some really good features, some big ones that we have put into the platform recently. Want to share that with you, and Sam's going to walk you through a demo of those features. And also, we get a lot of questions into the support desk, and some of those things we recognize it's best for us to share as best practices with you. And so we're going to cover a few items there that I think would be very useful for all of our Pavillio users. And finally, we're also going to talk about what's coming up in the next three or four quarters. Lots of good stuff coming, and it's a lot of good information. So Sam, let's jump right in. Current state of EVV in Minnesota. Well, as you know, phase one launched back in June. And the state has been working with the vendor, HHA, to get the aggregator set up. And so how is that going? FMS agencies are sending data. We have 7 agencies out of the 13 or 14 in the state. 7 of them work with us, and we've been working with HHA, or rather with the state and HHA, to work out the kinks in sending data. There have been some kinks, there have been some data issues on both sides, and we've been working through those, and I feel good about the progress we are making. Lots of interaction with DHS as we go through this and fine-tune the sending of data to the aggregator. The advantage that we have is that we are working with DHS and HHA, and we are learning things that's going to impact and benefit everybody who's using Pavillio. So come phase 2, we would be very knowledgeable and would have worked out the kinks, and this would make things a lot smoother when you start sending data to the aggregator. So phase 2 starts in November, and boy, it's only 5 weeks away. And the interesting thing is we haven't really heard, and you know, if any one of you out there have heard from the state as to who's part of wave 1 and wave 2, please let us know. But so far we haven't heard who is part of wave 1 and who is part of wave 2. And it's possible that we may hear soon, but it's also possible that DHS might push this back. As of right now, we're just counting on the fact that it is going live in November and in mid-December. So that's what we are planning for, but it could also get pushed back. We don't know. As you also know, CFSS got pushed back to April. So certain things are getting pushed back. So that's why I am skeptical as to whether these dates are the dates that they'll stick to. But you know, we never know till we hear from DHS. Also, last week, DHS said that the MCOs will be available early 2023. So if you remember, DHS was only expecting us to send MA data and not MCO data to the aggregator, and HHA is not able to, at the last we heard, was not able to bill out MCO claims. So, and they didn't have a date for it, but now they have introduced this, or rather told us that the MCOs will be ready in early 2023. And finally, phase 4 is at the end of 2023. So these are just some dates. Just want to keep you guys updated. And as we hear more and as more activities happen, we will keep you posted. So that's on EVV. A couple of other housekeeping items. DHS also has another webinar coming up, a couple of webinars. We encourage you to participate. This is just their perspective, and they're going to give us more information. We plan to attend, and we'll capture this information and share with you. But we hope you would attend and also take a look at the link down below. In talking about webinars, we've done a number of them, whether it is about getting paid or it is about EVV. There's a number of EVV webinars that we've done. We encourage you to take a look at that as EVV is imminent. It would be good for you to refresh. And we'll also be doing other webinars in the future here to help you with this, this transition and make it as smooth as possible. And a final thought, we are presenting at the 40th annual St. Louis County Health and Human Service Conference. Sam and I are going to be up there. That's, I think, representing on the 13th or the 14th. Where is that? I think it's on the 14th. It's 12th to the 14th, I think, representing on the 14th. Again, this is to help people with a better understanding of EVV, sort of calm their nerves about what's going to happen, and maybe hopefully give them some tips and tricks, because a lot of the people up there at this conference tend to be caseworkers, case managers. We want to try and help them. So that'll also be recorded, and we'll share that with you when we're done. Okay, so talking about new features and why we do them. Well, it all starts with you guys. You tell us what you think is important, what's necessary, and we have a long list of things. And these are some things that we've heard from you and heard multiple times, and we've taken that input and we have decided to work on a number of things that are big, and that's what we released here in the fall. So one of the requests that we've had a lot is, hey, we want a way to communicate with our mobile app users. We want to send information to them. So that was one of the things that came up, and we've created a utility to do that. Payroll has always been a very simple, simplistic view, which is if you clock time and that time was billable, then that was payroll time, and that's been sort of our that's been the basis of payroll from day one. But now we've added some additional capabilities to be able to bill time that is non-service time that you want to pay an employee for, and now we've created the ability to do that, and that is a big enhancement. And because payroll touches multiple areas, it took us a while to get this done. So, and also handle salaried employees. Plan care documents or care delivery documents, it's always been fixed. You had a CSSPA or you had a basic CSSPA. The document was all fixed, and we controlled what content was out there. But now we have the ability for you to customize care plans. So if you want to add your own agency-specific questions, you have the ability to do that. Keep going. Overlapping essays has been a request, and this is, we designed the system with some very tight controls to be able to streamline billing, and in the process, we overlooked a couple of areas, which is there were service agreements that overlapped that the system didn't allow, and this has been a pain point for users for a while, and we've sort of overcome this by doing some of this billing outside of the system, which is something we don't like doing. So overlapping essay has been a requirement since the beginning of the year, and in this release we have addressed that issue. And finally, this is a question that we've heard from, again, from the beginning of time. We tightly coupled care delivery documents and service agreements in the hopes of streamlining and keeping things compliant. But the reality is the world is not that cut and dry and not that clean. Many things change and many variations happen. Ultimately, we came to the conclusion that tightly coupling care delivery and service agreement is not a good idea, and now we have decoupled that. So these are things that we've heard from you. And Sam, do you have another one? Oh yes, the last one was unit utilization, an area that is always one where there is a lot of variations, and we have really gone tried to make unit utilization and the understanding of utilization much better by giving you more data about where the units are, in what process or what state they're in, so that you can quickly determine what a service agreement has left for usage and where they are in the process. So with that, here are the new features that we've added. A big one is push notifications, the ability to send notifications to mobile app users. This requires required a variety of things on the app side as well as from the platform side, and I think you'll find this very useful. Customizable plan of care documents. Again, very good ability to add your own questions as needed, and this also means that new services and as we consider going to other states, customize the plan of care documents means we can very quickly set up new service lines. Talked about payroll enhancements, and Sam's going to walk you through it. You know, this makes this a more full-featured system. A lot of people were using payroll workarounds to add non-billable time, as well as trying, you know, they had to go in and take out salaried employees because you don't compute payroll for them, but the system didn't allow you to not record their time. Those are the kind of things that we've done with payroll enhancements. Overlapping essays, Sam's going to walk you through that. I mean, this basically means you don't have to bill in Legacy and in Pavillio, and you know, we didn't have a good way for you to do overlapping essays, so those that migrated from Legacy to Pavillio, we let you bill those overlapped essays in Legacy. And now you don't have to if you are using our billing service. Our billing, the billers will work with you to move this over so that we can essentially turn off Legacy, and you'll be able to have everything in Pavillio. I'm very excited about this one. Unit utilization breakdown. We may have covered this in the past, but we continue to make improvements here, so we're going to show you some of that. And of course, all these things also mean that there are going to be some additional components in the masters section, and that's another area that Sam's going to cover. So Sam, let us jump right into the demo. Sam's going to do the demo. I'll give some sort of air cover, but there is lots of good stuff here, and she's going to start with.
Starting with push notifications.
All right, let's start with push notifications.
Yeah, so as you're all familiar, push notifications, similar to the ones that you would get from, you know, Target Circle or Uber Eats, get, you know, 15% off your order by ordering now. You'll be able to send push notifications to preset distribution lists. So first we are going to go to the masters. As Prabha said, we've got a lot of new tabs in the masters here. And we're going to look at the distribution lists. There are 4 preset or default distribution lists in the system: caregivers, clients, QPs, and responsible parties. And you can also create your own distribution lists. To do that, you would go to this Add Distribution List button here, create a short name, description, and add up to 50 recipients in each list. And by doing that, you can select, you know, if you have different caseloads or different groups of people that you're going to send notes to, you can set them up as a unique list that will stay for easy selection. To send out the actual push notification as a agency admin or agency owner, you'll go up to this little envelope up here at the top. When we click on this, we've got add new message. So we're going to add a new message there. We have internal messaging and push notification. So I prefer to send to both. And what that does is the internal message gives you the what we see here, this message that pops up in Pavillio itself. So you have a history of that. Sending the push notification is what goes out to the mobile app users. So to send to the distribution list, you do @ and it loads all of your distribution list options for selection. Or you can send it to a specific person or people. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to send it to myself here so we can see how that comes across. I'm going to say timesheets due, timesheets due today. And I can send this message, and that goes out instantly. So we see it here in Pavillio, and it also comes to my mobile app.
So can I just add a couple of things there, Sam? In mobile applications, push notifications is a way to communicate with mobile users, even if they're not logged in. So, you know, as Sam said, hey, you know, get Target Circle or Uber Eats or, you know, those notifications that pop up, even if you're not using the app, the message goes out. So push notification is better than sending emails. It's like sending text messages, but it's a built-in capability of the application, and it's a better way to communicate than sending text messages. So that's why we've used push notifications as the technical method of sending notifications, and we'll continue to improve this. But this is a starting point for getting messages, a broadcasting message out to your mobile app users. Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Prabha. And the notification that comes on the device will route users to the app to either sign in or take them right into Pavillio if they're already signed in. So there is some still protection there. If they're not signed in, they will have to do that before they can access the application. The next thing we'll take a look at today is the care delivery documents. Like Prabha said, over the last few sprints, we've made a lot of changes to the care delivery documents. In place of the former CSSPA basic or generic care plan, you can now create your own. So to do that, again, we go to masters, and we're going to go to document templates. And there are 3 default documents in the system. So we've got the 245D basic CSSPA, a companion service, or the generic care plan. And for the purposes of this demo, I've created this homemaking care delivery for us to look at. So to add a template, you would just go to add template here, add an ID, create your own label. You'd want to select care delivery, and then the description of what that template is for. And then you get to add all the attributes. So this will allow you to create your own layout. You can, you know, put this in order 1 versus order, you can move them around however you see fit. So we are actually going to look at this document as it stands now, then we'll add a field to it, and we can see the difference right away. So we're going to look at Thomas. And we're going to go to his homemaking care delivery here. When I select this one that we created, we see we've got an overview section, services and supports, and signatures. We don't have a meeting minutes section here. So we're going to add that now. So if I add attribute, I've got general info. We're going to look for meeting minutes, and these are all attributes that are set up in the system already. I'm going to have this under the group meeting minutes. So this sets a header for each of the different sections. Display order, I want this to fall right before my signatures. So I'm going to set this as 21. This can be optional. We don't need to make that required. I don't want this set as read only, and I'm going to set it as a text area and save. Then we are going to go back to Thomas and add care delivery. And I can see here now we've got the overview, services and supports, meeting minutes, and signature. So it adds that field right away, and you're able to then use it right away or make changes to it. However you want that to look, we've made that customizable for your agency.
So this is, you know, this is based on several of our customers saying, hey, you know, we have some specific questions that we like to ask. We understand that, you know, the documents that we have, the plan of care documents we have do comply with DHS requirements, but there are agencies that have improved upon those documents and made it more personalized to their own agencies. And we did not have a way to do that in the past, and now you can modify these to match paper-based documents you may have had in the past.
Yes. Okay. Next, we'll hop into the payroll enhancements. And like Prabha said before, this was a huge change in the system with the way that time is captured and the way that payroll is processed. So we can talk a little bit about the new categories. First, and Prabha, go ahead and jump in too if you'd like. We have, go ahead.
Yeah, so the key here is payroll was, as I said earlier, primarily based on service delivered. So you clocked in for an hour, you got paid for that hour. There was no way for you to actually clock time that never got billed, or you couldn't designate a particular employee as someone, regardless of the time that they clocked and provided service. You didn't want to pay them a payroll because they may be salaried, and we didn't have a way to do that. So to address this, we had to make some modifications to the way payroll was handled. One of the requirements from even, I think, goes back to more than a year ago, was we want the ability to clock admin time. Someone is doing some training. Well, that's not billable time. It is payrolled time, and we needed a method to do that. So to accommodate that, we had to create what used to be the variable service category was the default. That's what we had, and now we've added 3 more categories. So Sam, talk about the 3 other categories that we added.
Sure. So the variable activity is your non-billable time, like Prabha was saying. So you've got your admin time or training time or travel time, anytime that's not directly tied to a client service agreement that you're clocking on an hourly basis. Then we have fixed hourly. So if an employee is paid hourly, but they are the rate of pay is the same across the board, they can have a fixed hourly rate. Or we have a salaried option. And I know this was a highly requested feature. Like Prabha said, we'd have some filtering that would have to happen because people had to have a pay rate in the system. So we also, I'm going to show you salary here. It's a little bit different than the rest. It just has a start date because payroll is not calculated within the system. They can still clock in for time with a client if needed, but that time is not computed for payroll. Anything that you want to add here, Prabha?
No, this is, again, even Legacy as well as Pavillio, we were so focused on the unit-based services, and the unit-based services meant that, hourly employees that got paid if they worked, and if they didn't get paid, if they did not work. That was a good start, but it didn't address some of these other payroll types that customers had, and this just makes running a payroll and computation all within the system, as well as it takes, we have customers who do a variety of workarounds to get past this, and going forward, they won't have to do that, and this makes the integration between payroll and Pavillio a lot tighter.
Yes, and there is a little bit of setup with the non-billable time. So again, we'll go back to that masters. And we have non-billable activities. These are activities that you'll set at your agency level. So you can designate an admin or a training or a travel, or you can set up any activity with a description that meets the needs of your agency. And with each of those activities, you can also set up a non-billable pay rate. So this is defined by role. If you have a QP in this case who is performing admin time, they have a default pay rate of $17 versus a caregiver performing admin time with a default rate of $15. If for some reason you don't want that person to receive the default rate, then you'll set up the variable activity rate in their individual payroll tab of their employee profile. Otherwise, if they clock time, they get the default rate. So again, another flexibility in the system. It can either be set across the board as the default, or you can have those outliers. We know that nothing is black and white in this industry, and there are always the outliers. So we've built in that flexibility as well. Clocking the admin time is also a little bit different. So that is done in the portal only, and it's by going to the My Stuff tab and admin time. And in here, you will be able to clock real-time or manual time entry. And this functions the same as clocking in for other services. You can make notes. So we'll clock in here. And I've got my training time set up now. I can make the notes. I did my HIPAA privacy training, set the time and clock out. And that time is, again, clock for payroll. And then to approve those visits, it's also a little bit different. So we'll go to care management and we'll go to approve visits. And there is a separate non-billable time cards tab here. So if I select some dates, I'm going to see this is similar to approving EVV time, but you can search by activity or by employee, and you'll be able to see the visit records that are in here pending approval. Okay, this go ahead, Prabha.
Sorry, I was gonna, you can drop down that activity list so you can, look at all the, for example, travel time or all the admin time, right?
Yep. You can set a specific activity. You can look by a specific employee. If you want to see how much time SAMF is spending doing admin time or training time, you can search that specifically.
So now that we have this capability to capture this time, we'll add other features down the road. For example, one of the requests has been, hey, I want to allow only 5 hours of training per employee per month. Okay, that's sort of like a authorization for 5 hours of training or 5 hours of admin time. We don't have those limits yet, but those are the things that we can add now that we have this foundation of non-billable time.
Yes, and this we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from agencies on this, that it's really streamlined their process, and we've got a good testimonial here a little further down in the presentation. We can move on to overlapping service agreements. So as we discussed, this has been another really highly requested feature. Previously, we could enter in only overlapping service agreements if they came from a separate payer. So now with this addition, we can have 2 different service agreements for the same client, the same service line, and the same payer. So we're going to use Emma here as our demonstration, and Emma has a DSS service for just the 15-minute unit. This starts 9/1. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a second service agreement for her, and this is going to be her transportation line that is going to come from a different UMPI number. So it can have the same service agreement number. We're going to still select DSS here, gathering all of our information. So we've got September 1st. We're going to set this to August 31st. Still DHS, and we're going to set this as the second UMPI in there. We always want to have auto priority set to yes in this case with the overlapping essays. I'm going to set our diagnosis code here and select our transportation line. Give her some units, and we're going to select auto priority of 1 or priority level 1 and finish. And it is going to give us a warning message that we have a service agreement already for this payer. Do we want to add another? And we will go ahead and say yes. And then we can see we have 2 service agreements with the same number here for Emma, and there are no billing changes. Time entry is the same. So can add that now. Like Prabha said, we had a lot of people who couldn't migrate fully from legacy. We're still billing in 2 platforms for some of these situations, and we're really trying to close a lot of those gaps. So go ahead, Prabha, if you've got anything you want to add. It's a pretty
Yeah.
simple process, just a warning there.
Yeah, so this is, we really, when we initially built the platform, we did a variety of things. Unlike legacy sort of lets you do anything you want and then gives the handle back to you to make sure you don't do something wrong. And in Pavillio, we really try to streamline things so majority of the decisions are being made so that you don't make mistakes. And that's been the reason that the number of denials in Pavillio is less than 2%, and the number of first-time denials in legacy is about 8%. So one of the things was, having overlapping service agreements. And initially we came out and we said service agreements cannot overlap at all. Then we realized, well, there were some service agreements that were maybe from one payer versus another payer. They had the same, T1019 and UC from MA and from Health Partners or UCare. They would overlap and the dates would overlap. And so we relaxed that restriction. Then we realized that there were various other scenarios where there was overlap. And so as we learned that, because of the complexity of automating, many things had to be touched for us to relax this overlap capability. And that's a part of the reason it's taken us a while to get it implemented. But now we have the flexibility. It allows you to have overlap. As Sam said, this is going to, those that migrated and had to do some billing out of legacy will no longer have to do that, and it's going to really streamline how you run billing internally within the application. So Sam, were you going to, before you jump into that, I'm going to just pause for a moment. We have a very active group of participants today, lots of good questions that have popped up. And so I want to share a few of these just to keep everybody informed. And by the way, all the questions that you have, we are going to compile them and we'll send them out. And we will we'll talk about, because these are some big changes, there's big implications. We want to continue to keep you informed. So all this is going to be compiled and sent out to you. So a couple of questions that I want to highlight here. Bill, are you on as well? I'm going to pull up.
I'm here.
Bill, thanks for covering and answering all the questions. Do you want to hit a couple of questions here? I see PTO for non-billable time. That was a good question that came up. Some customers are using non-billable time to establish PTO, and that is possible today. So you can. We have a couple of customers who have set up PTO as a non-billable category, so when somebody wants PTO, they go in there and clock 8 hours of PTO, and the system does allow that. And it was the reason we didn't advertise it as PTO is sometimes people confuse the accruing of PTO with clocking PTO time. The accruing happens in your payroll system. What our system does is allow you to report PTO. So yes, you can report PTO, and that is possible. And there are a couple of customers that are already using it in that manner. Any others, Bill? I'm trying to scan the questions here. Any others that popped up that you answered that we should probably cover?
The other one kind of related to the PTO question is about holiday pay, and holiday pay is actually already in place in Pavillio, and the system calculates. You can define what are the holidays, and then the system will calculate holiday pay for those people and export it as accordingly, into the payroll export. So that function is already in place as well.
Okay, there's another question here about push notification and HIPAA compliance. The important thing to recognize is push notifications are going out as a open text notification method, which means the user doesn't have to do anything. They can enable the app to show up a push notification even if the mobile device is locked. Therefore, the contents of push notifications should be information that is not PHI. So do not send HIPAA information in push notifications. It is meant more as a way to tell people. So for example, if you say there is information that you want somebody to go look at, this is a way to say, hey, go review your client care plan, but you wouldn't send a care plan in the push notification. So that's sort of the difference here. So there is no way to make push notification HIPAA compliant because of the nature of the type of, it's sort of a broadcast communication, so you can't really hide the contents of push notification. Bill, any others that you want to highlight? I'm trying to scan these questions as I go through.
The other one that just came in, kind of along that same lines is can an employee send a message back in the app? And at the moment, the notifications is a push out, and so that's sending a message to the user, onto their device, similar to the notifications that pop up on your phone now. And so there isn't a reply option on that right now.
So Bill's correct. The framework is there. Messaging between users within the application is available. We haven't turned it on yet. So the option is there. We haven't turned it on because we are still refining how that operates and allowing, for example, we want to be able to allow communication back to the agency, but not necessarily, between different caregivers. So that could be another. There are some. We turned it on several months ago and realized that there were some holes in the implementation we had, so we have it turned off. So the answer is we will have the ability to communicate back and forth with caregivers once we refine that messaging platform. So stay tuned for that. We'll have something in the future. Okay, let's head back to move the demo, and we'll cover more questions when we come back here shortly. So Sam, back to you.
Sure. Good questions, everybody. We love questions. The last thing we want to take a look at today is the view units in detail. As we move more towards EVV, this is going to be more important than ever. I know some of you have made progress in implementing EVV. Some of you are just very, very much at the start, and some are further down the path. So what we want to take a look at is the view units in detail. So if we go to the service agreements and we look at view units, you may get phone calls from your client saying, hey, how many units do I have left in this service line? So here we had before the total balance remaining, but you didn't have the status necessarily or the visibility on where all of those units were within Pavillio. So with this view units in detail, you can see on the left-hand side the estimated consumed units, and this is with EVV, you've got your client approved, your time that the employee has submitted, ones that had failed. So there's a variety of statuses here that the system is considering estimated until you officially send them off to the payer. Once that happens, then they're considered consumed units, and that's the column in the middle. So you've got your estimated and your actual consumed. And then on the far right, we have your actual and estimated, but also the prior consumed to give you the total balance. So this is a really quick glance, a one pager on where all of the units lie for that service agreement for that client, just for a really quick reference. And it's helpful in troubleshooting too. So when I get calls from the support desk, we've got a really quick and easy way to see where all of the units are. Prabha, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, so unit calculation and unit management is a huge part of the services many of you deliver. And it's always been when you oversimplify it, you end up with scenarios where you overuse units. And our system has a variety of steps the units flow through, and they could sit in various statuses. So we really spent a lot of time looking at where these units are sitting in the process and make sure, because we would get calls and people say, hey, it looks like I should have units, but it says there are no units left. Where are my units? And that's what led to us creating this view. And also the concept of estimated consumed units is an important factor, because the world prior to EVV was people entered time every 2 weeks, which means if you had units available at the beginning of the 2 weeks, and if those units were consumed and you exceeded it, you're not going to find out till you got the timesheet. And very often you ran into situations where you ran out of units. But in the real-time world of EVV, you want to be able to see where units are in real time, and that's why we created the estimated consumed units concept. Estimated consumed units are units that have been used but haven't been billed. Consumed units are billed units. So estimated consumed units are units that have been used but haven't been billed yet. But if you try to consume more units, then the system goes, you can't do that because looks like you've already consumed the units. And they may be, submitted, they may be in finalized form, but you may be editing it, the client hasn't approved it. So various scenarios. So we took all that into account so that you will have a very good picture of where the units are, and you would minimize the overutilization of units. Couple of things to keep in mind in this. The system is only capable of handling what the system knows. So if someone changes the number of units that are available in the SA, the system goes, okay, must have more units, I'll allow it. And then if you change the units back, the system is going to, it'll look like you overused units. We've run into some situations where that's happened. People do it inadvertently, and we have this concept called prior consumed units. If you moved from another system into Pavillio and you had used 500 units in the other system, you can set that up. Now, if you said you had consumed 500 units and then you change that to 0, it'll seem like, hey, I have extra 500 units, but in reality, you may not. So these are all things that affect unit utilization and the data available, but the system will really help manage unit utilization and minimize having to pay out for units that were accidentally overspent. So it's a very good function, and this visibility gives agency person the necessary information to tackle those questions. We get a lot of these questions coming into the support desk, and we've continued to improve this. And by the way, the app also shows the client how many units, or the RP, how many units are available, and that is very useful. So so keep that in mind as well. They don't have to call and ask you for unit utilization information. They can see it in the app.
Yep. Very good. Good points. Okay, well, that is what we have here for the demo part. We've got a couple follow-up slides here.
Okay, so let's recap what we did. Push notifications. Sam, so it's for caregivers, clients, and responsible parties. Anybody who's using the app can get push notification. This is think of this as the starting point for better communication with app users. We're going to add more functionality over time, but this is sort of where to get the foundation in place. You can set up distribution lists, and the notifications take you directly to the app. Again, the push notification is just to tell you that, hey, there is something here you need to go look at, or there's something here you need to do. That's a reminder. And as I said, push notifications will work even if you are not in the app. And don't send HIPAA information through push notifications. You want to refer people to go look at stuff, but not put that information within the push content. Also, be mindful of device configurations. As many of you are aware, you can have messages that pop up messages that don't pop up, messages that pop up and have the content in them. You can allow or not allow push notifications. All these things affect how push notifications work. So setting up and teaching your caregivers and end users to set up push notifications. And we've got documentation in the help section within Pavillio, so please take a look at that. But the ability is there, the configurations do affect how these this function works. So keep that in mind. Second item that Sam covered, customizable plan of care documents, a much requested feature. You can add questions. You can create template. One of the questions that came in was, hey, can I take an existing template and modify it? Yes, you can. And we haven't. We still have to do a couple of things to make that work. That will be available shortly. But yes, the intent would be that you can take an existing document and then add the extra couple of questions versus create the whole document. Right now, you need to create the whole document for a custom document, but you will be able to edit a document. And Sam, did we push that out, or is that still?
That is still in development, and the other one is making the documents that are available in the system today are showing up as active documents to select. So we will have an option for those to be inactivated if you choose to do that. So only the documents you create and want to allow will be available to select.
Okay. Let's keep going down the list here. Yep. So you have the ability to make questions required or not required. Different types of data entry, drop down text box, list box, date, and so on. There are a couple of limitations in custom documents. Does not apply for PCA currently, because PCA was the very first one that we built, and PCA care plan is built differently than the rest of the other care documents, and so we haven't addressed that yet. We will down the road. Outcomes are coming here in the next couple of weeks or so. Outcomes are a little more complex to add in the custom documents, but they are being added. Currently, you can do custom documents, just that there are some limitations. Limitations basically means when we introduce the feature, we chose not to include that. Otherwise, we'll wait a long time before everything is done. So this is sort of saying, okay, hey, here's version 1, and then version 2 will have some enhancements. Next is payroll enhancements. We talked about the 4 different pay types. What we always had was variable service. What we added is variable activity, which is where you would add non-billable time that can be sent to payroll, but it's not billed. So having these variable pay rates allow you to make the system more integrated with the payroll processing that you do within the agency. What Sam showed you was the non-billable activities and how you can set the default rates if you weren't going to use what rates a person was getting paid. For example, we have agencies that say, hey, you get paid $14 an hour, but if you're doing training, we only pay you 12. And agencies do that, and so that's why we have this default category capability. A couple of limitations. Currently, non-billable time is only available in the portal and not in the EVV app. It'll be coming soon, but not available at the moment. You can clock travel time today, so you start travel, you can start the clock and stop it. In future, we'll have mileage that would also be computed in that. Right now, we don't have that. Again, this is version 1 of the feature, and in future, you will also be able to calculate mileage. Budgeting for non-billable time, we don't have that yet, but in future, you'll also be able to budget non-billable time.
And we do have a good testimonial here from Midwest Independent Living. They've really taken to the non-billable options and using the salaried payroll. As a salaried staff, we've been using paper time cards, and now with the latest release, we've been using Pavillio for our salaried staff. It's been easy for everyone in our agency to use Pavillio. There's a learning curve with everything, but this has been one of the easier ones to learn. And it's made us far more efficient. We've been able to grow and modernize as a company with the help of Pavillio. The goal is to bring ease and streamline the day. It's transparency, efficiency, and a way to communicate as well. These are fantastic things. As much as we love to hear, what we need to improve on and what things would benefit you, it's really, really nice to hear the feedback of how it has made your lives easier and how it has streamlined your processing. So thanks, Midwest, for sharing this, and we look forward to hearing more success stories down the road. Overlapping service agreements, we've talked about this. The 2 service agreements for the same payer, for the same service, for the same client. A couple of examples here are the DSS, one agency UMPI for one service and the other going to another. And then we've also had that issue with MCOs issuing different service agreements for different service codes as well. Okay, we've got some tips and tricks based on some frequently asked questions from the support desk. So care periods, I'm going to hop back into Pavillio here and show you a couple of these things. We're going to go back to Thomas. I know we're running short on time. Thomas Jackson here. So care periods are really important in terms of the ability to have access to all of your stuff for that line. So if we look at care periods as, the file folder, when Thomas starts service with PCA, that's when this opens, and it should stay open until he no longer receives the PCA service. Once the care period is closed, you can no longer edit service agreements, care deliveries, anything within there. So until all of the billing is done, you want to make sure that that care period stays open and only close it when that client is no longer receiving service.
Yeah, this is a misunderstanding. Some agencies were using this as when a service agreement ended, they would end the care period as well. The care period was meant to be more of if you're receiving care from that agency, as long as you're receiving care, that care period needs to stay open so that you can continue to work on that client. Once they're discharged and they're no longer a client of yours, then you can close the care period. But if you close it prior to that, it causes a variety of issues.
Yep. Next, we've got the archived documents. So with all of the changes with care deliveries that we've made, one of the common feedback points we got from all of you was that it was confusing with having draft, and you want to have one continuous care delivery document for the whole service agreement span. So we've gone away from the draft status and the active status. So all care deliveries now will be either active or inactive, and you will see this archived status. And what the archive status means is that I went in and I edited an active care document, and any changes that I made, I have to make a note as to why I changed what I did. And the historical document, so my original active document, will be changed to an archive status. And then my new active document will have the changes that I made. So the archived is meant to be just the historical record of that same care delivery document. Prabha, anything you want to add with that?
No, I apologize. I was busy answering questions. Go ahead.
Very good. Additional info tab is another one that is underutilized in the system. We have the ability to add additional info questions in here. So to do that, again, you go to masters. We can hop in there quick, custom fields. Add your custom fields, so you can create anything you want in here, and then you can map them to either the client profile or the employee profile, and then they would be available for all clients or all employees. So if, say, you want to have a COVID-19, were they vaccinated or not kind of question, you can have that in their additional info tab that is available for all client and employee profiles. So it's just another option, another way for your agency to customize based on the information that you collect from your clients and employees, and utilize Pavillio to hold that information. Did you have
Sam,
something, Bravo?
yeah, I'm watching the questions here, a couple of questions here. I think it's worth addressing with
Okay.
everybody. One is, where can you see the notes for changes to a care delivery?
Oh, sure, we can look at that. That's a good question. The notes actually carry over throughout the life of the document. So as I make changes to it, it will display. Just view this here. And I do have my, this is a longer document, my notes history here. So you can see this morning I edited this document for the purposes of the demo here. And I edited the document. That was the note that I made. So it says who made the edit, when it was made, and what the note was. And then if I were to edit it again and have a second archived, it would add a second note. Each time the document is edited, it's saved in the notes history.
Okay, that's good. There is a question, will Pavillio add multi-factor authentication in future? Yes, in fact, we want to talk about what else is coming in future. Sam, we're running short on time here.
Yes,
There
we
are a
are.
couple of other things we want to show before we talk about what's coming in future.
I think so. Really quick, we have, if you want to see who's all clocked in at present moment, you can do that in approve visits. This is one of the things that has come up by selecting your start and end times, looking at the incomplete tab. Anybody with the served hours of 0 would be currently clocked in. So that's just one quick and easy way to see that. And then lastly, we just wanted to make everyone aware of the analytics. I know, we've done a lot of work with trying to close gaps between reporting and legacy and Pavillio here. So the client active essay utilization, eligibility differences to look at, payer changes or waiver changes. We've got a report for the override being turned on and for the claims overpayment to address the 5%. So those are just things that we wanted to be sure people are aware of. If you have reporting questions, though, for sure, send a note to the support desk. We're happy to address those.
Yeah, we apologize. We're running out of time. Lots of good stuff. I love all the great questions that people have sent. I really appreciate that. A very engaged group this morning, and we promise to send everyone a full question and answer after the webinar here in the next couple of days. One last thing that I want to address before we go is what are things that are coming up in Pavillio down the road? Now, this is not the full list. These are some things that people have been asking about, and there will be other items that are coming that we haven't mentioned here. Telephony is one where people have asked about this. The state asks that people use the mobile app, but there are scenarios where people don't have a mobile app and they have to use a landline. So the ability to clock EVV through telephony is something that will happen by the end of the year. Shared care is something that people have asked about. Again, both, much like telephony, shared care is needed for a very small group of people. We've been sort of delaying the completion of the shared care component because there are so many other functions we've been working on, but shared care is also coming at the end of the year. Someone asked about multi-factor authentication. We feel strongly that we need to implement multi-factor authentication. One of the things that we don't want to do is to implement multi-factor authentication for EVV users. Currently, the system has the ability to, I can flip the switch tomorrow and everybody will have multi-factor authentication, but if I did that, we're going to have a whole bunch of caregivers and mobile app users that are going to have problems logging in. Frankly, it's an oversight on my part. We disabled multi-factor authentication and didn't design it. We didn't design it in a manner that we could separate out and say, here are people who can and cannot have multi-factor. And so we need to get that figured out, and we'll intend to do that Q1 of next year. Agency inboxes, downloading of essays and other documents that are available in minutes. We will be able to do that, and in Q1 we found an easy way to make this work. We have the essays in legacy. We want to be able to pull essays and other documents and tie it to client information within Pavillio. So we intend to do that, and that'll be a good feature. And finally, the EMR and skill services. We don't anticipate doing Medicare related services in Pavillio at the moment, but skill services was something that we've sort of always said, hey, we'll do it down the road. And there's been a lot of requests for electronic med administration record and the ability to do 485s and OT and PT. With the introduction of customized plan of care document, it allows us to do skilled, and therefore we are going to introduce skilled in another couple of quarters. It has been something that we've said, hey, look, we may not be doing skilled within Pavillio, but we changed our mind and we recognize the need for the EMR and the skill services. So that is on the roadmap. And for those agencies that have skilled in legacy and have not moved or have kept it separate, good news, we're going to have skilled in Pavillio. Well, that is all we had. We appreciate all the questions. Apologize that we didn't get to all of them while on this call. We will send this out and look forward to our upcoming webinars. We'll send some emails out. Sam, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I just want to thank all of the people joining the call today, and I really appreciate all of the feedback in how we can improve, in how Pavillio has improved your lives. So I love the conversation and really appreciate all the communication.
Great, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week.
Thank you all.